With messenger RNA, we will most surely, in less than 10 years, cure many cancers, cure HIV, and cure malaria. And remember me, let's watch this video in 2030 and see when we will have cured many cancers, HIV, and malaria. We will reach immortality, or at least indefinite youthfulness. We will be indefinitely young for as long as we want. If you, as a person, can avoid to have a child with diseases, will you do that? Or do you prefer your child to have diseases?
Thank you for joining Change I Am Possible, which is India's first Future Tech podcast. And I'm delighted to have Mr. José Cordeiro, who is an engineer, economist, futurist, author, and transhumanist. He's been a fellow at the World Academy of Arts and Science, director at Millennium Project, Venezuela Node, vice chair at the Humanity Plus, and the founding energy advisor at Singularity University. Thank you. It's a pleasure and honor to have you on the podcast. You mentioned that you speak a lot of languages. I mean, that's such a plus point because I guess when you travel, especially if you travel quite a lot, right? And it breaks down barriers because you can communicate with the other person, but I guess we going into a world where technology is going to play a huge role. We have natural language processing where there is text to speech and there's augmented reality, and I think in another possibly 10 years maybe you would not require to learn so many languages because all of those languages will be translated real time, and then you'll be wearing these glasses and you'll be able to actually speak in your language which you're most comfortable in, and the person you're conversing with will be able to understand it and in real time. So that's where technology is going, and I'm really excited about the space. You said you are leveraging biotech. I mean, you are researching in the space of biotech and rejuvenating technology. But before we get into age reversal, I would like to get your views on a futurist. What is the futurist? Do we actually need to know the future? What are your views? Why futurist?
Well, as I said, I am an engineer from MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And since that time, and before actually, I watched the moon landing when I was a very small child, and I have been fascinated by space. And here is my space idol, Elon Musk, who plans to send a manned mission to Mars in 2026. That is just 5 years from now. And actually, this is the year of Mars. 3 missions arrived on Mars from China, from the United Arab Emirates, and from the USA, from NASA. And in 2022, next year, there should be other missions, one from Europe and Russia, maybe another one from Japan, and maybe one from India as well, or if not 2022, 2024. But going to Mars is it's becoming very popular. And I think it is fantastic. It will teach us that we are a very small planet in a huge universe of possibilities. So going into space is important. It gives us also a long-term vision. It allows us to think not globally, universally. And we will see how we live in a very tiny planet and there are no borders, no frontiers, and that the problems are global and therefore the solutions have to be global. That is why I like to think about space as well and how we are going to terraform Mars. This is one of my dreams. I want to go to Mars. And actually, I want to help to terraform Mars, which means terraforming, forming like the Terra planet, our planet Earth. So it's changing Mars from the red planet into a blue and green planet like Earth is today. This is possible thanks to incredible advances in technology. And that is why all these missions going on to Mars now are fantastic. And the plan of Elon Musk to send a manned and woman with humans going into Mars by 2026. It really is beautiful. We live in a fantastic world of possibilities, and we have to be optimistic about the future on planet Earth and on planet Mars and beyond.
Right. Yeah. So yes, I think we need more entrepreneurs who have these crazy and bold and audacious visions of trying to solve these huge problems. Yes, I mean, we need to go to Mars because there's a humongous problem which Earth is facing, and not much is being done. I mean, the global warming, it's quite serious, but not many are understanding it. I mean, because of the pandemic, I mean, that couple of months when we were in a complete lockdown, everything was so beautiful. I mean, I could hear birds chirping, and there was a calmness to the environment because there was no cars on the road and stuff like that. But then suddenly, I mean, though the lockdown is not completely over, but then again, we've gone back to normal. You have been a founding energy advisor at the Singularity University. So how serious is the global warming, and what can be done to kind of reverse that?
Well, talking about Singularity University, which is based on the ideas of my friend Ray Kurzweil, whose book was a best-selling book in 2005, and the new edition, which is called The Singularities Nearer, comes out later this year. He basically talks that we will reach the singularity by 2045, in 2045, which is a time when artificial intelligence will surpass human intelligence. But then we will merge with it. We will improve our human intelligence with artificial intelligence. So the world of the singularity is a world of fantastic powers where human intelligence is improved, is enhanced, is complemented, is augmented by artificial intelligence. So in 2008, 2009, Ray Kurzweil and Peter Diamandis, both of whom are also graduates from MIT. They both studied at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. They decided to create Singularity University to talk about the problems of the world and how exponential technologies can solve them, how technology can help us to live in a better world in every sense. And this is moving very fast. Indeed, it is moving exponentially. And we truly believe, I am convinced, that by 2045, we will have this mega, hyper, global super intelligence helping humanity, helping all of humans, and also making us immortal. We will reach immortality, or at least indefinite youthfulness. We will be indefinitely young for as long as we want, thanks to all the biotechnologies of the future, which are growing exponentially. Things that were impossible even 10 years ago are beginning to happen, and not just on space travel and going to Mars, but on rejuvenation technologies. Scientists have been able to rejuvenate animals, organs of animals, and this is only beginning. So imagine what will happen in 5 years, in 10 years. When we watch your video in 2045 again, we will remember how primitive we were today, how primitive, that we let people die, that we let people age, that we let people suffer, and that we were only on a tiny planet called Earth.
I double you on whatever you said, that technology is growing exponentially. And I think in another, whatever, I mean, I would not speculate on the timelines. We would reach singularity, artificial general intelligence, and biotechnology by then would be able to reverse aging, and there could be regenerative medicine and so on and so forth. But, with all of these technologies, we are now tinkering with the tools which was one privileged and was only held by the hand of the gods. I am not religious whatsoever, but that I'm sure, that's a topic always opens up, where people talk about like what would be the moral, ethical problem of a world where we have artificial general intelligence, and most of the current narrow artificial intelligence that we have are being built by the biases of the engineers, whether it's the Western engineers, the Chinese engineers, the European, and the Indian. It's got all of these biases which are built in. Now, 2018, Yankui He went ahead and created the world's first CRISPR'd twins, genetically edited twins. Now, that opened up a bag of cans because some of the biggest geneticists around the world were involved in that, but then everyone withdrew very conveniently when it came into the world's eyes. And then everybody said, oh no, I'm not involved in it. But somehow I feel almost all the top guys who were experimenting with CRISPR-Cas9 technology knew about genetic editing and what Yankui He was doing. Through history, humans have not been good in taking decisions which is for the general good. What are the moral and ethical implications you see rising of technologies such as age reversal, or when we have artificial general intelligence and things like that?
Today we have many tools which were not natural, which were given only to the gods, supposedly. Even medicine, we want to cure cancer, we want to cure Parkinson's, we want to cure Alzheimer's. And you could say, oh, but those are natural things. It is natural to have cancers. Well, it might be natural, but we don't like it. That is why we want to cure cancer. So the concept of what is natural or not natural, I think is not really relevant today. We humans always want to improve, to transcend, to be better, to become more. So if we can live longer and healthier, we will do that. And I think it is fantastic. If I could live for hundreds, thousands of years, young, full of energy, what is wrong with that? But also, this is not mandatory. This is not obligatory. If some people want to die, well, let them die. This is free. This is not mandatory. In fact, until now, everybody died. That was the rule. That was the normal. Because we could not stop aging. We could not reverse aging like we are beginning to do now. So for people who don't like what I call the death of death, and this is my best-selling book, already in 3 languages and soon in 3 more languages, including Chinese, the #1 language of the planet. Also in China, by the way, where the CRISPR babies were created, I don't think it was that bad, and there will be continuous discussion, because if you as a person can avoid to have a child with diseases, will you do that? Or do you prefer your child to have diseases? Or do you want your child to be stupid? Like I always say, I am not afraid of artificial intelligence. In fact, I would like to be more intelligent. I want to be with intelligent people. I like to have intelligent children. I like to have intelligent friends. So I am not afraid of intelligence. And if artificial intelligence makes us more intelligent, let's welcome artificial intelligence. So that is not the problem. Artificial intelligence is not the problem. The problem is human stupidity.
Right. Yeah. So I double everything that you said. In fact, I have been invested in technology since 2015, and I do understand its potential of what it could do in the next couple of decades. In fact, I was having a conversation with Mr. David Pierce, and he wants to take pain and suffering out of the ecosystem. And I think that that's such a noble thought and a vision. And I wish more people like him come together and kind of find a framework of going over there. Obviously, there will be a lot of opposition because, like I said, 95% of the people, the population of the world, either don't really care or don't have the time which they to understand what technology is going to go do to their life. But somehow I feel that we need to handhold them also and make them understand what the future could look like. It's just that religion and traditions have created this blinder, and we have all succumbed to it. So it's not their mistake. It's how we are. When we are born, it's our parents or the education institutes or our friends. They tell us, and we start believing in those things, and those habits becomes a belief. But I'm excited about the technology, but at the same time, I am also very scared of technology. And I also believe that in maybe a few decades, I don't really know if aging could be reversed, aging could be halted. Maybe death would, at that point in time, would be looked at as a disease where we could have a cure. But we are way, way far away from something like that. Now, you have written a book.
No, we are not far away.
Yeah, so I would like to talk about that, because you've written a book called The Death of the Death, La Muerte de la Muerte. So would you like to, share your views, since you said that we are not far away? Would you kind of talk to my audience on what are the technologies, what are the frameworks, what are the timelines, and what is the evidence that you would like to back saying that this is my timelines because of these kind of tools, which is growing exponentially?
Well, first of all, indeed, many groups oppose technology. In Great Britain, in the United Kingdom, when the Industrial Revolution began, there was a group called the Luddites that were led by someone called Ned Ludd, therefore the Luddites, who destroyed the machines because they thought that the machines would take away their jobs. And yes, they did take away their jobs, but then they moved up the ladder into better jobs, into new jobs that didn't exist. And thanks to technology, thanks to the machines, we live today much better than 2 centuries ago, when the Luddites were against technology, were against the machines. My book is called The Death of Death. And the death of death, in a way, implies the death of a traditional religion, because traditional religion lives out of death. If there is no death, what is religion going to tell you about what happens to you after you die? If you do not die, okay? So there will be a lot of opposition, like it has happened always. And this is the biggest revolution in history. This does not compare to Darwin saying that we came from the monkeys. Even though that was big, immortality is much, much bigger. Or even when Galileo said that we were not in the center, that was big. But again, immortality is bigger, much bigger. So of course there would be a lot of opposition. And this always happens with revolutionary ideas. But science is advancing very, very quickly. The Nobel Prize of Medicine in 2012 was given to a biologist called Shinya Yamanaka. I visited him at the University of Kyoto before he got the Nobel Prize, because he did an incredible discovery in 2006 that changing 4 genes in the genome on mice, only 4 genes could reverse the age of the cell. This was magic in 2006. So basically, we know that we can reverse aging. This was so revolutionary that in only 6 years, he prize for what we call today cellular reprogramming, epigenetic reprogramming. And we know today we can change genes and make an old cell young again, or if you want to die soon and age soon, we can do that too. We can make you age faster. In fact, there is a horrible disease called progeria, which means fast aging. And scientists are discovering how to slow progeria. We will not only slow progeria, which is this horrible disease of fast aging, but we will slow normal aging and we will reverse aging because we know it is possible. Also, let me give you an example that most people do not know. There are already immortal cells. Germ cells make sperm in men and eggs in women. They are biologically immortal. What does this mean? That they do not age and they could live indefinitely forever. The body has two types of cells. The somatic cells, from Greek soma, somatic, which means body, and the germ from reproduction. So somatic cells is basically 99.9% of us. And the germ cells for reproduction, let's say they are less than 0.1% of us. But the germ cells do not age. They could live indefinitely forever if we take them out of our body, because our body ages, but not the germ cells inside. Something was also discovered later, that there are some cells who refuse to age, and they are not germ cells. So what do? They mutate to stop aging. Do you know how those cells are called? Cancer. Cancer cells are mutations that stop aging. They are also considered biologically immortal because they do not age. Cancer cells could live millions of years outside the body as long as they have a substrate, some nutrients to live on, because they kill the body. So when they kill the body, they have finished with the food and therefore they die. But if you take them outside, they live forever. And this was discovered 1951, 70 years ago, in 1951, with a patient called Henrietta Lacks. Henrietta Lacks was a patient who died of cancer at age 31. She was born in 1920. She died in 1951 at age 31 of cancer, a huge, horrible cervical cancer, which was huge. It was like an orange. The doctors extracted the orange of tumor cancer cells, and they discovered that the cancer cells stayed alive. And you know what? They are alive today. Even though Henrietta Lacks died, her cancer cells are alive today. Those cancer cells are over 100 years old, because she was born in 1920, remember, and we are in 2021. So those cancer cells are originally over a century old, and they look like teenagers. Why do they look like teenagers? Because cancer stops aging. And today we know that cancer cells stop aging. So my point is that immortality already exists. We don't really have to create it or invent it. It already exists in biology. Germ cells are biologically immortal, and cancer cells are also biologically immortal. And my point is, if cancer discovered how to be immortal, and cancer didn't go to university, didn't even go to school, to primary school, and it discovered how to become immortal, then what do you think we are going to do? I am an engineer from MIT, and I am very envious of cancer that with no education discovered immortality. But let me tell you what, we will discover what cancer did, because there is no magic. There is no religion behind. It's just science and technology to discover the cancer mutations. And we will discover that in the next few years. In the next few years, we know there are also small organisms that are biologically immortal, like the immortal jellyfish. It's called immortal jellyfish because it is immortal. It doesn't age. Or also some hydras and some medusas who could live for millennia, for millions of years. So there are immortal organisms. And the most fascinating thing that also most people don't know, bacteria that ruled our planet for 3 billion years are biologically immortal. Again, that does not mean that they don't die, because if you kill the bacteria, it dies. But it could live indefinitely because they don't have aging in themselves. It's a very complicated to explain all of that, but it is on my book. The Death of Death. So I welcome you all to read my book.
You brought out some really interesting points. You said the Turiptosis jellyfish is immortal. You spoke about the cancer cell, which is immortal, bacteria and stuff like that. And then you also mentioned about progeria, which is a condition where you age faster. So there's this movie in India. It's called Pa. It's a very famous movie by this very well-known actor called Amitabh Bachchan. And the story is about how this kid who ages very fast and then he dies, and we have so much suffering, that there's a minor genetic disorder which can create suffering and pain throughout. And yes, we are at the cusp of kind of trying to figure out how if we could kind of understand, or understanding of biology and technology could play a role in possibly maybe reversing these huge problems that we have. Now your book, can we talk a little bit more about that book? Because you say that the book is called The Death of the Death. We don't have an English version yet, but you wish to have an English version soon. So I wish that, you have that, because then maybe there'll be more readers over here in India also. But going back, I think in 2013, the Google's offshoot company, Calico, they made a bold claim of solving death, and they were on the front page of Times cover. And the headline, I still remember, it said, "Can Google solve death?" That was 2013. We are in 2021, but there is not much that we have heard from them. Yes, there are a few bold researchers, and we bold entrepreneurs, writers, evangelists such as yourself who are fronting this. Where does the current technology stand? Would you be able to give a rough timeline, and what possibly could be the framework? What understanding of a human biology would give us maybe age reversal, then maybe curing all disease? Because I think we need to take linear steps, because we are so far away. It always looks that we are close to have a treatment for HIV or cancer, but we still are far away. And then we've got so many other diseases which is there at hand, and which we need to start and solve that. Would you kind of back it with evidence? Because yes, I do understand that there is the cancer cell which does not age, and there is the Turiptosis donhi jellyfish which is immortal. Now, taking the genetic makeup of a jellyfish and the same process happened in a human, I don't think that's trivial. That's how far are we from maybe age reversal, or with the goal says being immortal?
Well, all those timelines into the future are in my book. In fact, I say what I think will happen in the 2030s, in the 2040s as well. 2029 to 2030, which is in one decade, when we will reach longevity escape velocity. Also sometimes called the Methuselarity, or the singularity of Methuselah. Methuselah was a biblical prophet that was supposed to have lived close to 1,000 years of age. And last December 2020, the cover article of the very famous Nature magazine, the scientific magazine Nature, was about reversing aging. And a scientist at Harvard University Medical School, David Sinclair actually used the Yamanaka factors of the Japanese Nobel Prize laureate 2012, Shinya Yamanaka, to make blind mice see again. So he took mice who couldn't see, who were old and had blind eyes, and he gave them vision again, vision for the blind mice. And this was done in December last year. So this is already starting with animals and with certain organs. I repeat, we know we can already make older cells young, and vice versa. We can make young cells older. We also know today we can make old organs young, and vice versa too. We can make young organs old. And now, eventually, scientists are beginning to work at the whole organism, at the whole body level. We also know this is possible. So it is only a matter of time until we do it. Curing aging was impossible until now. Now we know we can cure aging even better. We can reverse aging. We know this is possible. It is only a few years away until we have the treatments for humans. First, we are doing it with organs and animals until we begin doing this with humans. By 2045, we will be immortal. Well, if you want, again, this is democratic. Please, this is not an order. If some people want to die, please die. You are extra. If you don't want to be immortal, okay, just die. No problem.
Since you have opened up your Transvision conference, so would you like to talk about that? It's the month of October, right? And is this going to be like a virtual, or is this going to be a physical? Is it going to be a hybrid?
So the Ateneo de Madrid of Madrid is the most famous cultural and scientific place in Spain, where Albert Einstein spoke, Marie Curie, many Nobel laureates have spoken there. The most fantastic cultural scientific place. And there we are going to have our future conference in October. It will be physical in presence, but we will also do a streaming, live streaming to the whole planet. But we will do a streaming so that people who cannot come can join virtually. So I welcome you all to come physically. I think we will be vaccinated in most of the world by October. Actually, I just got vaccinated this past week. The same technology for some of the vaccines, which is called messenger RNA, this technology is now being used to cure cancer, malaria, and HIV/AIDS. There are now experiments, human clinical trials. And in the next 5 years, I am convinced, I am totally convinced, because I follow these developments, that with the new technology, messenger RNA, we will most surely, in less than 10 years, cure many cancers, cure HIV, and cure malaria. And remember me, let's watch this video in 2030. And I am serious. Let's watch this video in 10 years and see when we will have cured many cancers, HIV, and malaria.
Lovely, lovely. Happy. I love your optimistic views, and I hope and I pray that the rest of the world shares the view, because only if you're optimistic, you break the barriers of what we call the impossible, because then we can go beyond. Wish you the very best for La Muerte de la Muerte, Death of the Dead. And I wish that we have English version soon, so our Indian readers over here can read it. And I wish that you can come and be part of one of our conference and share knowledge and insights on what the future is going to look like. And I hope and pray that there's more people like you who are so optimistic about a bright future. And to my listeners, if you like what you see in here, please press the subscribe button. Until next time, see you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate this.
Live long and prosper.